Yeah, I just thought ShopRite had the money. ShopRite has a bunch of people by the registers. Yeah.
Do you need mics on? No? Got it. Oh, there it is.
Lights are on. Good evening, everybody. This is the workshop meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Oceanport for April 4th, 2019. And this is the call to order and the statement of compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meetings Act by notification on January 9th, 2019 of this location, date, and time to the Asbury Park Press and the link, and by the posting of same on the municipal bulletin board and the borough website. I ask you all to please stand up so we can salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for your location.
Hello, everybody. Let's just have a moment of prayer. Dear Lord, we ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion and allow us to grow closer together as a community. Fill us with your grace as we make our decisions, and continue to remind us that everything we do tonight and all that we accomplish is for the good of our beloved Oceanport. Bless our governing body and the entire community of Oceanport. Amen.
Jeannie, do I have a roll call, please?
Councilman Proto?
Here.
Councilman Iris?
Here.
Councilman Gallo?
Here.
Councilman O'Brien? Council President Solon?
Here.
Councilman Deeren?
Here.
Mayor Coffey?
Here. First item on our agenda are the resolutions. Number 2019-90 is the first one, resolution authorizing payment of the bill list for April 4th, 2019. This is not consent, so,
Each one.
yeah, partly, yeah. Okay, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
On the vote?
Councilman Proto?
Yes.
Councilman Iris?
Yes.
Councilman Gallo?
Yes.
Council President Solon?
Yes.
Councilman Deeren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next one is 2019-91, which is a resolution authorizing the purchase of SDL software license. It's from the state contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Quick discussion.
Mayor? Sure.
This is new software. It's going to improve the way the government works in town. We have GovPilot right now, which kind of doesn't do everything we need it to do. Jeannie and our new building official, John Johnson, got together, did a little task, came up with this. It's going to enhance the website, enable more interactive reporting and less fees during the course of the year. So it'll pay for itself over 3 years or 5 years, over 5 years.
Spatial Data Logic is that's SDL, is the standard in the state of New Jersey. It's the gold standard really for New Jersey. It's really interactive. It'll allow, as long as we train everybody, it'll allow everybody to interact between departments, and if you have access to it, the general public can have access to it. Tax records will be on it. Pretty much everything is available through SDL. It's a step up from what we have before. We've had a motion and a second, so on the vote.
Councilman Proto?
Yes.
Councilman Iris?
Yes.
Councilman Gallo?
Yes.
Council President Solon?
Yes.
Councilman Deeren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Number 2019-92 is a resolution overriding my veto of ordinance number 998. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, on the vote.
Councilman Proto?
Yes.
Councilman Iris?
Yes.
Councilman Gallo?
Yes.
Council President Solon?
Yes.
Councilman Deeren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Number 2019-93 is a resolution amending the 2019 meeting schedule. Moves our April meeting from April 18, 2019 to April 16, 2019. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second. On the vote.
Councilman Proto?
Yes.
Councilman Arez?
Yes.
Councilman Gallo?
Yes.
Council President Solon?
Yes.
Councilman Deeren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Number 2019-94 is a resolution approving application for an urban renewal project. A motion?
So moved.
Second.
No discussion? On the vote?
Councilman Proto?
Yes.
Councilman Arez?
Yes.
Councilman Gallo?
Yes.
Council President Solon?
Yes.
Councilman Deeren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next one is 2019-95, a resolution of recommendations for the Environmental Advisory Committee. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Quick discussion, Mr. Mayor, please.
Sure.
Thank you. This resolution arose out of last 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks ago, which the ordinance changing the Environmental Commission to a committee was enacted. The day after the meeting, I had several conversations with Councilman O'Brien after hearing the concerns of members of the commission. The two main issues that they expressed that might affect them were A, the appointment of one of the members to the planning board, and B, the opportunity to see all plan applications that come into the board secretary. So Councilman O'Brien and myself came up with this resolution which would accomplish, hopefully assuaging the concerns of the members in the respect that a recommendation from the council to the mayor would be made to appoint one of the environmental committee members to the public position of an alternate, of a class 4 on the planning board. And also it would instruct the planning board secretary to continue to forward all applications to the environmental committee. So after our discussions, I contacted Mr. Cox from the commission, I contacted the chairman, Mr. Broish from the commission, expressed to them our idea and asked them to bring it along to their members. I was called by the chairman a few days later and told that the members were very accepting of our ideas to pass this resolution. I've also had a conversation with him this afternoon in which we confirmed that this would be a seamless transition. All members of the commission remain as members of the committee. They would continue to see all plan applications that came to the planning board, and they would continue their work for Ocean Port and protecting the environment unmitigated. So this was in conjunction with the chairman of the Environmental Commission. This, I feel, is a good compromise. It allows the council to achieve their goals, and it allays the concerns of the commission. And we all look forward to them continuing their work. It's my understanding that no members have stepped down, that they will all continue in their work of serving as members of the committee. So I want to give an explanation of how this came to be. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
One procedural question. When it gets referred to the environmental committee, under the new ordinance, there's no reporting mechanism, they don't report to the planning board. So who do they, if they have comments or questions
Well, they'll continue to serve an advisory function. They
to,
will continue to have a member of the committee. Joe Foster will serve out his term, my understanding. And when the time comes for new appointments, it will be the strong recommendation of the council that a member of the committee be appointed as a class 4 member. So they will continue to have access to the plans that come in and continue to be represented on the planning board.
Question, can the appointment you make to the planning board from the commission, is that a set term, or can they be removed on a whim of whoever? Or is it basically?
Set term.
So it's a set term?
and that's now with the advice, it's the mayor appointing with the advice and consent of the council.
Well, no, not necessarily, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Right now, the mayor, yes.
Correct.
That's correct.
Got a motion and a second, so we'll go to the vote.
Councilman Proto?
Yes.
Councilman Iris?
Yes.
Councilman Gallo?
Yes.
Council President Solon?
Yes.
Councilman Deere?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Number 2019-96 is a resolution awarding a contract to Mazer Consulting for tennis and basketball court refurbishments. This is at Blackberry Bay. Yeah. Have a motion
Second.
on the vote.
Councilman Proto?
Yes.
Councilman Iris?
Yes.
Councilman Gallo?
Yes.
Council President Solon?
Yes.
Councilman Deere?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is a first reading of an ordinance. It's an ordinance approving a financial agreement with the Oceanport Urban Renewal Preservation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to call for the introduction of an ordinance authorizing a financial agreement with Oceanport Urban Renewal Preservation. Jeannie, would you please read the proposed ordinance by title only?
An ordinance of the Borough of Oceanport, the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, approving an application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with Oceanport Urban Renewal Preservation, LP.
I'd like to make a motion at this time to approve this ordinance on first reading and to hold a public hearing on the proposed ordinance at the council meeting April 16th, 2019, and to advertise same in accordance with law.
Second.
On the vote?
Mr. Mayor, brief comment on this
Sure.
as well, if you don't mind? Thank you. This is the pilot agreement that was worked out with Related Affordable, the buyer of Oceanport Gardens. Dave Pearson is sitting back there. He's a representative of the entity that will be buying Oceanport Gardens, investing upwards of $4 million into improvements into all the units, site improvements. Very graciously agreed to provide 2 electric crosswalk signs for the seniors to be able to navigate East Main Street. Because of I guess a technicality, the last deal had to be reworked. This deal, we were actually able to lengthen the term of the pilot from 20 to 30 years. So now those units will be preserved for an additional 10 years for seniors and for people with disabilities. In addition, the financial benefit to the borough improved significantly. We will be receiving $2.5 million over the first 20 years in pilot payments to the borough and an additional $3 million over the next 10 years. So actually, technicality worked out in our favor. And Dave met with the seniors the other day at Oceanport Gardens, informing them of the work that will be taking place. Our BA Donna was present as well. They were very receptive, very gracious, very appreciative, and we all look forward to that work being completed in a short time.
Okay, first thing we have after that is the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, we didn't get a vote on it? No vote? Okay, then let's go with the vote.
Councilman Proto?
Yes.
Councilman Iris?
Yes.
Councilman Gallo?
Yes.
Councilman O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay. Council President Solon?
Yes.
Councilman Deere?
Yes.
Motion carries. Mayor, let the record reflect that Councilman O'Brien entered at 7:13, please.
Fine, we're going to move over to the administrator's report. Please
Thank you,
take it.
Mr. Mayor. To echo Councilman Proto, on Tuesday, I did have the opportunity to attend the Related Affordables briefing to the residents of Oceanport Gardens, and I can say that they were very, very excited about their new flooring, their new windows, kitchen cabinets, the replacement of their fixtures, so I think that it's a win-win. I really don't have a lot to report since our last meeting, but I can give an update on the new municipal complex. Since quite frankly, in the past 2 weeks, I've been spending a lot of time on that, working with the engineer, with the architect to provide information and different selections on what the borough is looking for in conjunction with the new municipal complex. The architect is hoping to go out to bid in May and is requiring decisions to be made to be included in the bid specs. Chief Kelly and his team have been very helpful, in addition to Jeannie, Katie, and our construction official, John Johnson. He's back there somewhere. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for their tremendous effort over the past 2 weeks, and know that there is still much more work to be done, but I'm happy that we are moving forward. Now that the resolution authorizing our engineer to go out for bids for the tennis courts has been approved, he can get to work on putting together those documents. He's also advised that the Evergreen Park plans need to be revised somewhat to improve drainage and save costs. Bids for both projects, Evergreen and the tennis courts at Blackberry and Community, should be ready to go on April 16th, and we are anticipating to be able to award contracts at the first meeting in May. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Don, just ask a quick question. The fencing part of Evergreen, I know that's been going back and forth. That's separate from,
It is separate.
It's been a nightmare.
Yeah, it's been a little bit tough getting quotes. Taylor Fence was back out this week. They will not take the fencing down, so Public Works is going to have to take that fencing down and clear out. It's the 12-foot and 10-foot fencing at Evergreen. He also said that the poles on the top, apparently it's one pole over another, and that's a problem, so that's probably going to have to be replaced. He's going to give us a new quote, but they're 4 weeks out on doing any of their work. And I'm also waiting for a quote from one of the fence company.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's now.
What happened was, Joe, we got, can you say it? We had basically a done deal, and then the person walked away, stopped communicating with us, email, calling home, nothing. And it's just delay after delay, very frustrating. So now we're just gonna move forward with these two other quotes.
thank you.
Anybody else? We can move on to the clerk's report for April 18th, 2019 meeting items. Janine?
We have a couple of street opening moratorium waivers that have been requested from New Jersey Natural Gas. The one for 78 Shrewsbury Avenue, it expires the end of the year, so the engineer is not so upset with that one. And he's recommended opening with infrared patching, which is is a higher standard of patching than just a regular patch. And the one for 97 Bridgewater's Drive is basically related to someone who rebuilt after Sandy. Unfortunately, it's where we paved last year, so the moratorium doesn't end until 2022. So New Jersey Natural Gas has basically advised that in order to, one is to comply with an order from the Board of Public Utilities, and then the other one is in order to discontinue or reconnect service. It's either disconnect or reconnect for the new house. So, so we have those two. Is everybody okay with moving those along to the next meeting?
Yeah, a question again, on these street openings, and especially Bridgewater's, we notify these utility companies that there's gonna be a moratorium if anything's gonna be done, and they're supposed to respond, they're supposed to come to a pre-construction meeting, I believe, too, right? And they get that, this keeps happening.
Oh, and then they blame it on us.
I know that, I understand that, and this is a brand, like you said, the street was done not even a year ago,
Yeah.
Bridgewater's.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I would like to hold them to more of a standard to get it repaired. I don't know what we can do.
Well, that's what the
obviously,
engineer's
yeah,
saying,
but-
make any approval contingent, which is in the resolution, that they have to provide a higher standard of patch. Basically, to make it seamless, kind of like what we did on Porter Peck a few years ago, when we had to do that mess.
It gets to be a frustration because
We
you
spent a
know,
lot
you
of
go
money.
through the process, you go through a lot of money, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, somebody's, you know, doing something, and I don't blame the resident, but the utility company needs to
Yeah.
be aware of this, so.
One of the, if you've read one of the requests though, the Board of Public Utilities apparently mandates that if there is a home that has not had service, it's like abandoned for 2 years, they're required to shut it off at the street. So that's one of them, one of those in that case. And, I don't know if we can hold New Jersey Natural Gas.
Yeah, I don't know
Do
what
that,
I don't know what
but-
the solution is, but maybe the higher standard of fixing it after it's done, I mean, and make sure, you know, have Bill, you know,
Yes.
go visit it, make sure it's okay. I don't know what else we can do, but it is been a source of frustration for years, so.
So those are okay?
Have we done anything in the past, as far as when they do the patch? I know you talked about, in one instance, we held them to a higher standard. Did they actually do what they were supposed to do?
Yeah, actually, they did.
Who was that?
The gas company did, in two different places. One was on Portico, and that one, is where the water, no, not the water, there was a gas leak, and they went curb to curb.
Yes.
And then the other one was the water company over by Jockey Club, I believe.
They were both infrared patches?
Well, they curved an infrared, I believe they're curb to curb page, seamless page, right?
Yes,
Yeah, but these are patches.
I think.
that's what the recommendation is from the engineer. You guys can certainly require, and the one that's not expiring right away, you may wanna just require they go curb to curb.
I would wanna see that.
I would think, listen, if they're gonna do these things, I would think we may wanna, as a town, set some kind of a policy where it has to be curb to curb. It's happening way too often, and I know some other towns have done this, where they've gone and required it, even
Yeah.
going to road curb to curb, and, I know.
We've got to make that part of our ordinance.
Yeah, so maybe that's something we look at in the future, but I think, especially on the road, I mean, maybe not on the one that's going to, Shrewsbury, but the other one, which we just did, I would say that's.
How did, in the past, we just did it by way of resolution demanding that they
Yes.
go curb to curb?
And I don't think we've done it a lot.
Oh, 5 times?
Yeah.
4 or 5 times?
5 times curb to curb, otherwise they were doing infrared.
Oh, no, only 2 curb to curb. The other, we've done waivers, but only 2 times required curb to curb.
Yeah, of course,
Portec was a much heavier, thick
Right.
surface, and so it costs a lot more. And that was the engineer's recommendation for that road.
It's the new road also. So, something we should look into.
Do you want me to make a note to,
Yeah, I mean, we could add it to another workshop for discussion, but I would definitely talk to Bill, you, and/or Donna, and talk to Bill later about something like that, if it's something he would recommend or why he wouldn't, or.
so for emergency situations where we have to grant a waiver, but make that one of the requirements for patching.
We could, something to look into, yeah. I would
Okay.
I would like Bill's recommendation.
yeah, I think you'd have to do it on a case-by-case basis, but to leave us the wherewithal to do it in the ordinance, so they know going in, this is a potential, and when they,
Costs that they're gonna incur.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on that one? All right, and then, as we're getting ready for budget season this year, Katie, has done a great job from what I hear, and we qualify for self-examination, so I don't know, Katie, do you want to speak to that at all? It's a standard resolution that when you don't have to send it to the state, you just have to authorize it to be done by self-examination. There's certain criteria you have to meet for it, and we met that, so. Then we have our workshop minutes. Councilman Proto pointed out on the executive session that he was present and absent, so I will correct that. It should have been Councilman Buren absent. Were there any other comments on any of the minutes? Okay, and then we have the 2 first aid membership applications, which we'll just move forward to the next meeting for approval. And then lastly, I'm in receipt of the captain's report for the Portec Chemical Hose Company. They filed January, February, and March with me, and those have been distributed and will be posted.
Next item is discussion items. The first one's the borough logo contest. Who's handling that one?
Well, sort of me, basically. So, we had, some of us, I think, had a conversation, the building committee maybe, for the municipal complex at one point.
It came up in our last meeting.
Yeah, so we were discussing the new building and, where we would put the borough's logo, in the meeting room, et cetera, and other people have suggested, but I had suggested, maybe consider updating our borough logo. There's been chitter chatter about it in the past. Coming up on the 100th anniversary next year, I thought it might be a good idea to maybe open it to the public and give them an opportunity to show off their design skills and, see if they can come up with something that might show more of Oceanport. the triad that we have right now shows the historical side of Fort Peck, but it doesn't reference the current, community that we are. So, I don't know if anybody's open to it. I drafted some sort of, rules and contest requirements in an entry form based on another town who had done a 100th anniversary. So, they put together a small committee to kind of figure out who's gonna vote on them, the criteria for voting.
Buddy, when we did it in 1920, what was the protocol then?
I was changing your diaper.
Good one.
So are we gonna set up a formal committee, or
Well, I'm asking you guys,
you think?
That'd be a good idea.
okay?
Yeah, I think we should update it.
Here's a question, like, you take applications from the public and then take it as is, or like, what if you don't have like great art skills or you're creative, like, then maybe hire a professional to clean it up, or?
But I think the final result would have to be done by a professional, we dress it up.
Well, here's the thing, first of all, we can open it to anybody, or do you want to limit it to Oceanport residents, it's up to you, but I think we should open it to anybody. There isn't, in our case, some places they give a prize award, for being careful with the pennies, so I think, recognition enough would be, the fact that we're gonna acknowledge it in the municipal complex and on our stationery. I thought maybe we could also, recognize the winner with a plaque next to the logo of the Borough Hall.
Anything but money.
Right, the normal pomp and circumstance for the winner, but, I think my recommendation is to make it to anybody. One of the other things that they did was, they said the kind of format it would have to be, and then there was an exception that said, the borough may not choose to use any contest submissions or retain the current logo, but if a final logo idea theme is chosen and adopted by the borough, the winner, along with the created logo, will be featured in the contest. And it says, there is a place where they say it may be altered, that the borough may alter or reproduce the image at its discretion by professionals. So maybe you get a child who, third grader comes up with something you really, really like, but it needs a little polishing by a computer design person.
Right.
So, right?
So we're gonna look for someone to volunteer to head the committee.
Gee, just volunteered.
No,
I'm willing to do
I
it.
heard that too.
Yeah, that's right.
So you put
How
a
about it?
call for action type of thing, where it keeps somebody,
Do it.
How do you wanna handle it?
Well, I don't know, do you want it to be just residents, do you want borough, school, other officials involved? Does anybody on council want to be involved?
I
can't draw.
yeah,
I think it's drawing,
yeah.
judging,
Oh,
you ultimately will have the decision.
There you go.
these are the hard decisions.
Bring the DOB on it and have.
And we have to involve the
Definitely
education.
involve the school.
Yeah.
So, can you reach out to Melanie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Our
And
teachers
then-
and judges.
Historical committee, somebody's here from there,
Quite a few.
like to be involved in that?
Well, yeah, and as soon as possible, because we're in the process of making banners and doing things, making the flags for the center of town, and we're going to include, one of the current logos.
Well, you're gonna be using the sailboat one, correct?
Well, we would like to be consistent in using something that's, if it's gonna be on a building or featured at schools, we want to be consistent.
But I think this would be unveiled right at the,
It would be during, part of the unveiling for the 100th anniversary.
right, so we wouldn't know what the new
It's
logo
not
We
looks
won't have
like.
time, I don't think.
It's not for the early marketing, it's going forward, so.
So I think this is just, we need a couple of people to step forward, involving the school, and, getting judges for it is, I think, the last thing we need to worry about.
Right.
Getting something consistent, an overview. So we're gonna involve the schools, we're opening up to anybody. We've got the guidelines you said about being able to utilize their idea, it becomes our intellectual property. We can modify it if need be. We just need, let's say, 5 people to, you said submit them to the ideas to the clerk, but we need 5 people to kind of handhold the the whole process. With 3 people, I mean, it doesn't have to be that
Get the high
many, 3
school
people.
involved.
Yeah, run it through the school, maybe you get help, or a teacher
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know.
Shore Regional?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure, regional,
For
for
sure,
sure.
yeah, you may be somebody all three, I don't know, I mean, that could be, you know,
All right.
whatever, Jeannie, run with it, I trust you. Not Rob.
Okay, so I might have to get new cufflinks then, you're saying, you're changing it. All right, I got the 2019 municipal and capital budget status update.
Katie.
Okay, over the last 5 months, we've been working on the 2019 municipal budget. In November of 18, an email that went out to police, fire, first aid, OEM, public works, planning board, administration, and our borough engineer regarding submission of capital requests. The email included an explanation that they were hoping to concentrate capital expenditures on infrastructure, statutory items, and items necessary for borough operations. We met with the borough engineer and Councilman Gallo regarding the 2019 road program, and then we evaluated the requests. The BA, Donna, and myself have met with members of the Finance Committee over the last 2 months to discuss the borough's operating budget. The initial premise was to keep all items flat and go up from there. We were able to reduce some line items while others had to increase. We also made an effort to purchase and pay for some items in this year's operating budget instead of including them in the capital program, thereby avoiding some interest costs to the residents. The Finance Committee's preliminary budget has been provided to the auditor and bond counsel for preparation of the capital ordinance. We are looking to introduce the budget at the next regular meeting of Mayor and Council on April 16th. Draft copies, and I stress draft, have been provided to Mayor and Council. They're in your folders for your review, preliminary review. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me, and then we're going to introduce and so you'll get the whole budget when it's all finalized in the packet, but for now, these are preliminary numbers. Let me know if you have any comments.
I think you handled everything that I would have said. Thank you for your efforts in this, and thank you, Donna, thank you, Jeannie. It was very much collaborative, and we met, we put together some numbers that we think work. We looked at past, present, future, and you have what the Finance Committee is going to recommend, I believe. I would like the comments from the council for the introduction. You'll go to Katie beforehand or come to us at the next meeting. Any additions, subtractions, things you think we need to cut, things you think we need to add, and we can go from there. But I appreciate the efforts.
Anybody else? Okay, we can move on to the mayor's report. So 2 items. Number 1 is, I guess, written, the fish have disappeared for the most part. The fish have disappeared for the most part from the river. But there's a cone. It looks like a fire cone, like a big orange cone that's behind 7 Main Street. Can we get somebody out there, who do we send out there, other than me going out on the paddleboard, to get it? It's right behind 7 Main Street, it's a big orange cone.
Come on, John, I'm gonna ask you to weigh in, because you saw it today.
I wouldn't call it a big orange cone.
Okay.
It looks like it's, I went out and I took a picture of it today, and at first it was hard to actually spot.
Okay.
The microphone's up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does everybody need it? Can anybody hear me?
Everybody, this is John Johnson. He's our
Construction official.
construction official, building code enforcement. So this way.
Okay. Good evening. So I went out and I inspected the cone and took a picture of it from the fire department's parking lot. And at first it was hard to actually identify. It's buried in the mud.
It's in the water, in the
It's
mud, yeah.
It's in the mud. It's brown, it's not bright yellow, it's not new, it's been there for a while. So
It's just visible when it's low tide, is that what you're saying?
that's, and I don't even know if we can get access to it when it is high tide.
Okay.
Because, the current is over on this side, it's out in the middle, so I don't know how you guys wanna.
Okay, I got a very long email today, so.
I know, I got the
Okay,
same
same one,
email.
okay.
I'm looking for a kayak to just so you know, just so I can, you know.
Road charges, how do
Paddleboard out there?
I'll check it out this weekend, yeah. Give me a washout tomorrow, but
Yeah.
if you wanna send me the picture, I'll talk to you.
Sure, yeah,
And,
you can see it, I mean, it's, you know, like I said, I stood on the parking lot, the bank behind the firehouse,
Right.
and it's probably, you know, 30 yards out.
And under
so,
our
you know.
ordinance, it's finders keepers, so you get to.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know what you're gonna do with it.
Actually, a lot of salvage go well.
Yes. All right, thanks, John. Second thing is Shore Little League is now taking over our rec baseball program, the baseball side of it, is being folded into Shore Little League. They're gonna need field access, and they're not one of our recognized sports entities. So we would have to add, I talked to Mike McStudy a day or two ago about this, and we'd have to add Shore Little League as one of our recognized sports entities in our ordinance, so they can utilize the fields. Anybody have any problem with that?
Nope.
And that's all I have. So we're gonna move to petitions from the public. Anybody, this is the statutorily required time for people to come up and take the mic if they wanna say something at a public meeting.
If you hold on one second. Parks and Recreation, just want to make everyone aware, the 13th, we have our Easter egg hunt. It is one of those great things that Oceanport Rec does for the town. It's a tremendously fun thing to go watch. The little kids, we give them thousands of eggs. We've got the cutest Easter bunny you'll ever see, hopping around like crazy, getting a picture taken with all the kids. You get to hear Mike McStudy on the microphone, which in itself is quite a treat.
Word of advice, Billy, don't get there 2 minutes late.
No,
Oh,
I'm
you'll be
telling you, these things are unbelievably fast. There's thousands of eggs, over 1,000 eggs.
Are gone in 1
And
minute.
are gone. But it's the cutest thing you'll see. It's one of the great things that this rec committee does, and they don't get recognition enough. So I would love to see the Facebook fanatics post something positive, and then that would be this rec committee that does such a great job. All volunteers, they put so much time into this stuff, and it's just a great event. They all do tremendous amount of work, put a lot of time and effort into this thing. No cost obviously to us, and it's just a great event, so enjoy it. That's it.
And you're wearing the bunny costume?
Well, I was, but there's been a problem with the dryer. I'm gonna give that away to somebody else. And I was also told by McStudy that there may be a shortage of eggs if I was around, and I didn't appreciate that either.
All right, anybody else? No, we'll go petitions from the public. Have to give your name and address.
Ronald Sickler, 45 Morris Place. My question evolves around the condition of our roads in our town, in particular potholes. Does anybody in this town, are they in charge of finding these trouble spots and putting a final solution to them? I know on my particular street, where it hits Branchport, it's been repaired numerous times. There's another spot coming from the bridge out of Long Branch into Oceanport on Branchport, and that area has been troublesome as well and repaired a number of times. So my main question is, does the borough have anyone that goes around and specifically inspects and reports back so that we can find a permanent solution to these repairs and not waste time revisiting them?
Potholes generally are repaired by Public Works. If people have to call it in to get good repair, but on just buying it, if the police were to tell us, if Public Works, if anybody told us, we would repair it. We now have a hot box where instead of just throwing a coal patch in there and it suits 5 cars go over and it pops all out, we have it's heated now and compacts better. So we have a better means now to fix the potholes. But we need to be informed, so, you know, we just don't.
But as you're informed, if you get repeated reports weeks apart or months apart on the same area, wouldn't it benefit the community to make a permanent repair as opposed to a temporary repair?
I know exactly what you're speaking of. I've actually contacted the county because that's a county road, so they're responsible to do it. I've contacted them several times, along with every time I also throw in a little jab about the traffic light at the corner of Portapac and Bridgeport too.
Good luck with that.
Exactly. We'll get to a response as of right now.
Steps up another level of bureaucracy.
It sure does. You're right.
I know in years past, I've been here when they discussed the amount of roadways that were going to be repaired in this town. I wasn't here evidently for how many feet, miles, or whatever of roadway you anticipated doing last year. So I'd like to know how that was done, and how were you successful doing it? Did you meet your goals?
I don't have, do you have the numbers from last year in front of you? Or the email off the top of your head?
We have a certain amount that we could spend by the budget and everything, so we meet that demand. And that's all we can do, so if it's 3 roads, if it's 4 roads, that's how we know how to get them done. We have a list of roads, we have priorities, and we do each one we have each year.
Yeah, but I'm a little confused.
This year's 1.4 miles we're doing.
Okay, and
I don't know, I don't have in front of me what last year.
last year, do you know what it
I don't
was?
have in front, I would assume it's similar, maybe.
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah. I would
Okay,
assume
do you know how many miles of that were achieved or not achieved, and was it because of the budget?
Unfortunately, Bill White is not here, but
No, whatever we
they're already
got.
budgeted for it.
It's on
They're
Yeah,
budgeted for the beginning of the year, so that's the road program.
that's gonna be done. Yeah. if it's-
Because I would assume, when you put your budget together
Yeah,
and you say, well, we're gonna do 1.4 miles of roadway,
correct.
that, say, halfway or 3/4 through the year, that money is still there to complete all
Correct.
those
We don't
projects.
take
So that's
anything away.
allocated in the budget for those roads. The road program is the road program.
Yeah, we don't,
Okay.
we don't deviate from that.
And I'm assuming that this deals with a complete roadway and not a segment.
Unless it's Portapac or a huge road where you may do in segments, it's be a complete road.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that Bridgeport is a county road. Do you have a lot of trouble with the county as far as getting them to respond? If so, why?
Well, I'll jump in on that one. Main roads, Myrtle, Monmouth Boulevard, leads into Broad Street, Bridgeport, they are pretty responsive. I mean, last year, we had a problem with all the potholes that were, as you're going over to the bridge in Little Silver. It was horrible, and they came out, we made a request, and they were out there within 2 weeks. They're doing 2 major projects on Myrtle and Monmouth over the next year or so. They're gonna be doing from beginning to end on each. I think that's gonna take place in the next 12 months or so, 12 to 18 months. And they already did, trying to think of what the last big project it was. This was
We have
Main
to-
Street,
71,
right?
71 coming into, yeah, 71.
That was the state.
The state, okay, all right. But that's the last major road project.
They actually did Bridgeport Avenue, they did one side. and
Right, they do the other side, right. So they've been fairly responsive. My experience has been for the past 3 years, they've been pretty responsive. Even meeting us out on the roadway when we wanted to meet with somebody, one of the engineers came to the site and said, I told them, this can't be. And within a couple of days, they came in and they did their patch. That was on Myrtle as you're going over the bridge. The actual bridge itself, it was a minefield last winter and in the spring actually, and it's gonna happen again, it looks like, because the patches they put in there are now coming out. But the county's been pretty good with us.
Thank you.
And in answer, the average over the past 10 years was 0.6 of a mile that we've done on our roads. It was 0.6 of a mile, we averaged over the past 10 years.
6 tons.
Our engineer stated 6, 7 months ago, came here and said that we've averaged 0.6 of a mile and we should be doing about 1.9 miles.
Where does the difference come in?
What do you mean? What is the difference?
Well-
It's what we spend on our roads as opposed to what an engineer says would be a prudent thing to do.
But if you lay out a plan for 1.9 and you only complete 6/10,
Well,
No, there was
we
no
don't lay out a
plan.
plan for 1.9. We haven't laid out a plan for 1.9. What he's saying from a mathematical state, if we do 1.9 miles a year, you'll redo all your roads over a certain period of time. At 6/10 of a mile, which we have been averaging, it takes like 42 years to do all your roads. And we've got a lot of roads that lack proper drainage and curbs, et cetera, so but it's endemic to the entire town.
so it's not necessarily related to your budget.
No, there's the engineer's wish list. If you were doing this the engineering way, if the engineers had a deeper pocket, they would say do 1.9 miles.
Which would be 20 years doing every
Right.
road, which is very often. No town does 20 years. No.
Okay.
I'm just saying, so, to say that, 1.9, the engineer would say that, but I would say 1.3 is more reasonable of a number. And it is budgetary, it's 100%
And
budgetary.
the complexity of this, trying to understand for me is.
Well, it comes down to saying, well, what are we gonna spend money on? And sometimes, if a road's really bad, you have to spend money. We've got Shore Road and we've got some big roads to do that are gonna be on our time.
Shore's gonna need a major lift and but they're still building it. So it doesn't make sense to touch it until they're done building the houses, or else we're doing, Jeannie says, roads. So that's why that's our goal. But yeah, there are some roads that, it's easy to say just pave it, like my street, which nobody drives on, you can just pave it. It's nothing. Other streets, like Quarter Peck, are driven on tremendously, and you gotta be repaired probably more than 20 years. My road would probably do 35, 40 years before.
All right, thank you.
Kelly?
Bob Kelly, Gooseneck Point Road, Oceanport. I want to follow up on Ron's comments, and I heard somebody mention Shore Road. All the utilities are in. There's no reason to hold up working on Shore Road. You don't have to cut it. The lots that are there all had gas and water run into them. Last year, or it was a year.
We were told something different just yesterday, so, and the equipment coming in there, just so you know.
I think the greater concern would be, okay,
Yeah.
everything's hooked up to the line, and everything, but then they're gonna be building a house or two on Shore Road, and you'd have these trucks coming on, heavy equipment, and over a brand new road. And it's probably not a prudent, it is not a prudent thing.
Okay, I can deal with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was last year or the year before, the town spent a lot of money putting new catch basins on Shore Road. You're aware of that?
Correct.
I invite you to walk down there at low tide, and you'll find some of the catch basins filled right to the top. They catch, but they don't release. So something is wrong. On one of the catch basins, I walk past it almost every night, walking my dog, and you can hear running water into it. Now, I don't know where the water is coming from, but a dry period where there's no rain, and you hear running water going into the catch basin and into the creek. So there was at one time a leak. The water company came, dug up the street, patched the leak. It's still, whatever it is, it's leaking. So I would.
Where is that basin?
On Shore or Gooseneck? On Shore?
Just at,
Corner of Shore, like a little bit
Right
up from
on the
Shore
end.
and Gooseneck?
yeah, well, it's there too.
Yeah.
The furthest one east, okay,
By the canal.
yes, right by the canal. The first catch basin on the left.
By Draper's Lagoon.
Right, exactly, by Drapers. And as you go around, the ones that are filled with water are further around.
And what, are they filling up with garbage?
Water.
It's just water? Even in the dry period?
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Anybody else? Just to give you your name and address, and then step away from that speaker, because you'll get feedback.
Edward DeRosa, it's reference to 78 Shrewsbury Avenue. The gas waiver, was that granted?
That'll be acted on at the meeting on the 16th.
Because that house was abandoned for 2 years and we're having a problem breaking in, and I'm looking to demo that property and go over these lines for the construction permit in the near future. As long as we have intention. And, you know,
Yeah, I don't think that wasn't the one we had initially.
That's
No,
the one that
yeah.
expires this year. and it's
Expires
not-
this year.
Yeah.
I know they don't know what month it expired, that's what I was asking for.
The end of December, but that's, it's not a.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Mark Patterson, 40 Itasca Place. There's a lot of construction on Portapeck Avenue, you guys probably know, and they tore up a lot of that road, like right in front of the Jockey Club too. I'm assuming you guys knew about it, but was that something that you had to give approval for, or because that was paid relatively recently, wasn't it?
Not that side.
And that's county.
Port.
No.
No, Portapeck's us.
Portapeck's us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mess. How, like, even on the shoulder, like the bike lanes and stuff, it's pretty bad. I drive past it every day to work just to make you guys aware. Also, I drive past it again a lot on my way to work. There's a house that's pretty much overtaken by trees. Like, it's the first house as you're going towards, I guess, the peninsula after the fencing from Monmouth Park.
The White House.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is the deal with that house?
The people that own that house don't live in New Jersey, they pay their taxes, they pay their fines, they pay their liens.
But isn't there something property maintenance wise that can be done?
We're gonna-
That, it's kind of ridiculous.
It's been ongoing.
Okay.
Steve's
We're aware of
neighbors,
it. That's- My yard backs up to it. It's
Yeah,
wildlife.
I would
It's
not
like
want my
watching
yard
Wild
back up
Kingdom.
to that house.
It's like watching Wild Kingdom.
Yeah, I don't envy you, my friend. All right, very good.
They're quiet.
Yeah, I guess.
Cut down.
Except for, right, mice and whatever have you. So, we went from 20 to 30 years, Rob. So what was the money factor before? You said it's significant money, so what was the money factor before and what's the money factor now? Like, on a per annum basis?
The original deal was for 20 years. It would have brought the borough, I believe, just over $2 million in revenue.
And now we have 2.5.
And it was only for 20 years. This deal will bring 2.5 over the first 20 years. And then since we extended it out another 10 years, there'll be an additional $3 million to the borough.
An additional 3 million or additional half a million per annum?
Additional $3 million over the last 10 years.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And since we're talking about the streets, I thought one of you would bring it up tonight, but can someone speak to the grant and the process of the grant that we got for breakwaters and how that came to be?
Ricky, you want to? Which one was it? Say it again? I'm
The $200,000 grant we got, like, can you speak to how we got it and what the process was to get that grant?
Oh, each year we have our major consultant apply to the DOT for a grant. And we pick different roads that he feels that we can get the grant. And we submit it and we usually get it. And this year we got 200,000.
So Mazer was the one that submitted the grant?
Yeah, that goes through our engineer.
Okay. Very good. Now, with Borough Hall, the consistent date or year that it was supposed to be completed, was hammered down by council quite a few times, and I asked a couple months ago, would be in 2019. Are we still looking at 2019 for the completion? It just doesn't seem that way, that's why I asked.
For which road?
For New Borough Hall.
New Borough Hall?
Yeah.
No, I doubt it. We're not even.
Probably in the middle of 2020.
Okay. Okay, and we were approved to stay in Old Work until 2021, or
2020.
2020.
is that gonna be an issue?
I don't think it's an issue. They understand what we're trying to do. They know we're spending $11 million to try and get this done. Same thing with the firehouse, where we have a police station. That they want some certainty that we're gonna be out of there also, but we're looking at the middle of 2020.
Okay. Very good. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Anybody else want to take the mic, sing or talk? No? If not, then there's a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
I'm using that for my more fortune, I'm like, nice.